Do you remember the forever items? In your parents' or grandparents' house, there was likely a refrigerator, a toaster, or a heavy-duty sewing machine that didn't just work, it prevailed. It was a steel-clad monument to mid-century engineering that didn't have a touchscreen or a Wi-Fi connection. It simply did one job perfectly for 30 years. Compare that to the experience of 2026. You spend $600 on a premium coffee maker that is sleek, smart, and has a beautiful matte finish, only for a tiny, non-replaceable plastic valve deep inside the chassis to warp 14 months later, exactly 2 months after the warranty expires. This isn't bad luck or a fluke of the manufacturing line. We are currently living through the greatest decline in material standards in human history, a phenomenon that can be defined as the Quality Recession. We are wealthier than our ancestors, yet our possessions are more fragile and more disposable than ever before. This is a silent tax on your time and your sanity, a systematic decision that your life should be filled with garbage. To understand why your shoes fall apart in 6 months, we have to follow the money and look at the cold mechanical systems of global capitalism. In the late 20th century, the market hit what economists call a saturation wall. If you build a washing machine that lasts 30 years, you're a great engineer, but you're a catastrophic businessman. Once every household has a machine that never breaks, your market effectively disappears. You have engineered yourself out of a job. This birthed the era of value engineering. In boardrooms across the West, the goal shifted from making the best product to making the cheapest product that the consumer would still perceive as premium. They began replacing brass with nylon and steel with high-density polyethylene. Instead of screws, they used industrial glue. Instead of modular parts that a local repairman could fix, they used potted electronics that are impossible to open without destroying the casing. This is an economic necessity for a system that requires infinite growth on a finite planet. If the product doesn't die, the stock price does. But there is a deeper, more cynical layer to this, known as the Premiumization Trap. Brands now sell you the aesthetic of quality to distract you from the absence of it. They add a brushed metal faceplate and a high-resolution screen to a machine using the same cheap internal components as the base model. You are paying a 40% markup for a feeling of durability that doesn't actually exist. This trickery shapes our very ego and identity. When we live in a world where everything is disposable, we begin to view our own lives and our relationships through that same lens. In the 1970s, an object was a legacy item. You bought a watch with the intention of giving it to your son. You bought a dining table with the intent of it seeing your grandchildren. These objects provided a sense of temporal continuity, anchoring us in time and history. Today, we have no heirlooms, we only have e-waste. When we are forced to replace our phones every 2 years and our furniture every 5, we lose our physical history and begin to live in a permanent, anxious present tense. This explains why the midlife demographic feels such intense nostalgia. It isn't just that the music was better, it's that the world felt more solid. You miss a world where a guarantee meant something and a brand name was a promise rather than a marketing sleight of hand. We are being gaslit by a market that tells us we have more choice than ever, while simultaneously ensuring that every choice leads to the same landfill-bound result. The Quality Recession isn't just an inconvenience, it's a global redistribution of filth. Because we buy garbage, the global south is forced to live in it, as our fast fashion rags and broken electronics are dumped on countries that don't want them. From an environmental standpoint, this is a catastrophe. It often takes more energy to recycle a cheap, glued-together laptop than it did to manufacture it in the first place. The most ecological act a person can perform is keeping an object for 20 years, yet the modern system is designed specifically to prevent that act of stewardship. Trillion-dollar tech giants fight right to repair laws because the Quality Recession is the only thing keeping the replacement cycle spinning. If you could fix your own device for $20, the corporation loses a $1,000 sale. We have moved from a society of owners to a society of tenants, renting our tools, our entertainment, and even the functionality of our cars through monthly subscriptions. We cannot shop our way out of this problem. Buying an even more expensive version of a broken system won't fix the underlying incentive to produce waste. The solution begins with the radical act of refusal and a demand for physical sovereignty, the right to own, open, and fix the things we pay for. We must stop seeing ourselves as consumers whose only job is to process goods from the factory to the grave, and instead see ourselves as stewards of the objects that fill our lives. The quality recession will only end when we stop accepting garbage as the new normal. We must reclaim the idea of the legacy item and recognize the broken plastic in our hands for what it is, a calculated insult to our intelligence. The history of the 21st century is being written in crumbling plastic and unfixable circuits, but it doesn't have to stay that way. It starts with asking why we settled for less while paying more, and ends with a refusal to let the things we own be designed for their own destruction. We are the last generation to remember what it felt like to own something that could outlive us. That memory is not just nostalgia, it is a blueprint for a future where quality is a right, not a luxury.